Welcome to Around the Hoop, the Westwood Basketball Show. I'm your host, Michael Gay. Today we're going to be joined by the girls' varsity and JV coaches. We're going to be joined by the Varsity Boys Basketball coach, as well as the captains of the boys team. It's going to be a great show. In the first segment, as I mentioned, we're joined by both Catherine Clifford and David Hiltz, the girls' varsity and JV coaches. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
There you go. So good to be back, Coach Clifford and David. This is your first time. First time on Around the Hoop.
Yes.
So again, welcome. And why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself?
Cool. So my name is David Hiltz. I'm the girls' JV basketball coach at Westwood High School, as well as the varsity assistant. Grew up in Medfield, jumped ship and ended up in Westwood when Catherine got the job, which was really, really nice. So we've been together, I think this is our 5th year now. And it's just been a wonderful experience. The community, getting to work with the girls, getting to work at a program that historically is so good has been awesome, awesome, awesome.
That's great.
My first call when I got the job.
Awesome. No, that's,
convinced them to come over.
It's good to hear, and the program's been thriving. Not only do we see tremendous success on the varsity level, but also the JV program has had some really, really solid years.
Yeah, and it's nice. We're finally at a point where having the opportunity to work with girls on the JV level, you know, now the senior class, a couple of them are captains who I got to coach, and to be able to watch that development, like as players and within the program, but also just as people, is a really, really cool experience.
Yeah. Obviously, you're heading up the JV program. How about the assistant varsity coach? What is your typical week-to-week interaction with Coach Clifford, and what role do you play on the varsity team?
Yeah, so our major one is we see each other at least 3 times a week, if not more. We spend a lot of time together in the gym where we have overlapping practice times, and I'll stay and either help out before or after my practice with hers. Practice-wise, helping to go through scouting reports, and if we break off into practice, running certain more like position-specific drills and such. And then obviously in the game, I have the best job in the world. I get to pull her aside and go, hey, have you thought of this? Or do you think you should make that change? And most of the time I get vetoed, which is fine. But it's an awesome, awesome role to just be able to kind of throw things on the wall. And I think that Catherine and I have a pretty good relationship where, it's like, oh, this, no, and it's no hard feelings, you roll. And then obviously the big piece is just, whether it's substitutes, girls coming on or off, if something, we see there, just feedback we want to give, being able to pull and sit down and talk to them. And it's great that first couple years when you're kind of just a varsity assistant, you don't know them well enough, you're not as comfortable, to now where I've worked with these girls, just being able to sit them down and say, hey, listen, what am I going to talk to you about? And watching that kind of self-reflective skill grow and be able to do that. So.
And just to add on to that, I mean, David's one of my biggest resources as a coach. We're always constantly bouncing ideas off each other. And it's great in a game to know that there's almost an extension of yourself behind you, so we can get twice as much work done. We're on the same page in so many ways. And again, just having that working relationship of like, nope, we're not doing that yet, or yep, good call. And there's a lot of, I'd say our whole coaching staff, it starts with us, but our whole coaching staff is just, really good chemistry within the staff to be able to work through things, and it's going well so far. So we're excited to have everybody back.
Yeah, it's amazing the fun that you have, and working closely as a staff. It translates to camaraderie that also translates to wins. So we've seen that certainly over the previous years, and now we get to look forward. So this is being filmed on the 21st of November, so just before Thanksgiving. It'll probably air just after Thanksgiving, but next week will be the varsity and JV tryouts, and so we're a little bit ahead of the game here in the first filming of Around the Hoop, and so it's a tough question, but let's bring everybody into the future here. What are you expecting, both from tryouts, and then talk a little bit about the upcoming season?
I think it's probably easy to say this. I may have said this before. I think this will be our most competitive tryout yet. I think our jobs are going to be really difficult, and that's a credit to the girls and the talent, the competitiveness, and the athleticism that they bring to the table. I think we're both going to have our work cut out for us trying to pick the right team and put all the pieces together. We have some returners that will look for contributions, but there's definitely some spots open. We'll need some newcomers to come in and contribute as well. We graduated a lot. We had a really productive and that graduating class did a lot for us in all areas, so there's a lot of ground that we need to make up. But we know that there are some people that we've been working with and developing for 2 or 3 years that are ready to make that jump, and we're confident in them to do that. And then it's up to us to try to balance that out and give them the tools they need to be able to do that. So I think for the season, we graduated a lot of offense. So one of the hardest things in season, and we talk a lot throughout the off season trying to prepare, it's hard to prepare for your strengths and kind of weaknesses as a team when you don't have a team yet. So we won't know until we have a roster, but there are definitely some things we've put together already, and it'll be a lot of adjusting on the fly to fit our personnel and hopefully put the best team together we can.
So one interesting question I have, and as WHS Basketball president for a number of years, you would deal with the perception that you picked a team before the tryouts, or that there were preconceived notions of what players were going to bring. As many times as I tried to explain how we went through the process, again, we're all crazy, especially from a parent perspective, just a matter of what percentage. Talk a little bit about that and how that translates to your role in running an effective tryout, and what are you looking for? Obviously, you're human, so you know some of the players' skills and strengths. They may bring it in a tryout, they may struggle at times. How do you put all that together and run an effective tryout to try to get the right teams?
I think bottom line is the girls will have, depending on the team, 2 or 3 days to show us their stuff. Doesn't matter how good you are in 7th grade. If I worked with your team back then, it's obviously been a long time. So it's really those days, and we have surprises every year. We'll talk about and be like, wow, this kid looks really good, and it's really difficult. Tryouts, I'll tell you, the night I pick my team is like the most bittersweet night of the season. It's great because you have a roster and you're ready to get to work, but you know that there are girls that you're not making happy, and same thing happens when we, the jump from JV to freshman, things like that. But in terms of that, it's a really stressful 4 hours. It's healthy stress, and it's one of the things we love about our job is trying to do that. But the girls have 2 days, and we give them all kinds of looks. I'm probably crazy about planning my tryout, trying to have the most efficient, give everybody a fair look in all different areas, and kind of put them in different scenarios throughout the 2 nights. So yeah, it's a matter of what they bring to the table for those 4 hours, those 2 nights, and we'll see what happens, but I'm looking forward to it.
Last bit of advice. So you've got a crop of freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors that are coming out for the team. What advice can you give them going into a tryout to give their all and to try to make one of the slots?
Yeah, I think in my pre-tryout speech on Monday is one of the hardest things about trying out is you need to stand out. You need to show us what you can do individually, but you also need to show us that you can buy into a team system. We preach teamwork and playing together and unselfish basketball, good team defense, good communication, all those things. And to be able to showcase both of those things at the same time is challenging, but that's what they need to do. So they need to show us their stuff, look for their offense, showcase their defensive skills, all those things. But we're also looking at, are you a good teammate? Do you play with good sportsmanship? Are you, just kind of playing the right way? And so there's a lot to balance, and I don't have the answer on how to do that perfectly, but that's definitely where we'll turn their focus for those 2 days.
So let's look at players of past years, the Westwood alumni or alumna. Is it alumna?
Alumni?
Yes.
Alumna?
Alumna.
Yeah. Like alumna.
Teachers should
that
know.
Looks good.
I don't know.
It's history.
There we
math.
go. So let's talk about some of the past Westwood players. Some players that graduated last year. I know a number of them are playing college basketball, as well as some other players. Give us an update on some of the college seasons that are just kicking off.
Yeah, so college basketball just got underway. We have 4 girls in the Division III ranks from the last 2 graduating classes. I actually got a chance to see Kaylin Harrington. She was the class of 2016, play over at Tufts last Friday night. Olivia Ware from that same class is up at Bowdoin. She's a sophomore. And then we have 2, I call them freshmen, but they're officially called first years. Christina Bonfilio from last year's class is at Babson, and then Allie Morin is down at Trinity. We're hoping to get down there later this week to see her play. But it's good. They all had opening seasons. All their teams are 2-0, so we're off to the right start. They all got in, contributed, and we're really excited to follow them and really proud of how they developed, and can't wait to see what's left in store for them.
How do the players from previous years, both playing at the college level and then deciding not to play college basketball, how involved do they get with the teams as the season progresses? Are there texts and are there Instagrams and things like that with the team, or has it been pretty much a separate separate grouping?
With our current team,
with your current teams?
Yeah,
exactly.
we always, over Christmas break, we always have girls popping in and out of practice, which is so fun to see them. I've already gotten a couple, like, when's the first game? When do you play Medfield? All the questions that they want answers to. But it's always good to see them when they come back. We always say, visitors are always welcome. The kids that have been out the shortest amount of time, we usually hear from most, but we're definitely in touch with a lot of our past players, and that's, one of the best parts of coaching is the relationships you form, and to see those kind of extend beyond their high school careers is awesome.
That's great. So last question is, when I asked this last time, so for those who are watching this, it's a bit of a repeat, but goals that you set going into a season. Walk us through some of the goals. Again, you don't know what your roster is.
Right.
What are some of the goals that you'll talk about once you have that roster?
I think some of the intangibles are develop players as individuals, develop as a team, just try to get better throughout the season. I think our tangible goals every year is get back to the tournament. Get 500. The girls like to talk about tournament games and all that exciting stuff, but you can't have those conversations until you're in. So that's certainly it. We look to be competitive in our league. The TVL will be really strong again. I don't know what people expect from us. I think we're going to be a big question mark. We have a really challenging non-league schedule again that'll hopefully prepare us for both league play and again, knock on wood, hopefully tournament play. But again, it's kind of get the roster set. We got to figure out our strengths. We'll be in tunnel vision for a while, just trying to take it one day at a time. But I think definitely the tournament is what you hear from the girls too, I hope.
And so, David, same question to you. Once the roster is set, both varsity, JV, potentially JV 1 and 2, how do you go about setting goals for the JV program?
I think the big thing is, and it's kind of cool because year to year there's some overlap of girls that play for me for 2 years, and it's nice because they have that experience and you can talk about that conversation. We talk about all the time where it's a separate season, it's a new group. What are some of our goals? I think I learned this from Catherine and watching her teams of, individually within games, what are some goals to look at? Maybe hold a team, average, giving up a certain amount of points, certain amount of steals per game, maybe score, execute a play to perfection, some of those little goals. And I think, the same thing. I think what's really, really cool is, because our league is so competitive, I think some of the more competitive programs that continues on JV, so some of those rivalries that exist at varsity are kind of, miniature versions at the JV level, and there are girls from years past that say, oh, this team is really good. Certain teams in the league and getting into that, and I think always just to go out, be competitive, and try to win, which is a lot of fun night to night.
Have fun while you're winning.
Thanks.
It's amazing how much more fun it is to win.
I know.
So again, thank you so much for being on the show, David. Don't be a stranger.
Cool.
Come on out again. You're always welcome. Coaches, good luck. Good luck getting through Thanksgiving. I know that can be hand-to-hand combat over the turkey. Great luck next week at Tryouts.
Thanks very much.
So we'll see you next time. Cool.
Great.
Next segment, we are going to be joined by Coach Steve St. Martin and the boys' varsity captains. We'll be right back. We're now joined with 3 out of the 4 varsity captains, returning captains. Welcome, boys. Thomas Herbert, Nick Anderson, and Owen Gaffney. So let's start by having you explain the ice, and supposedly this is the end of Hell Week. So why don't you start off with giving your perception of Hell Week?
Well, it's really exactly how it sounds. It's hell. So, and what we're really doing with it is like preparing ourselves like physically and mentally just for tryouts, and like really building that like mental toughness that you really need in our program.
Yep.
Yeah, like it sucks at some points when you're doing it, but like in the end it really helps because you like really get in shape. So like by the time tryouts come around, like you feel good and you feel like you're ready.
Yeah, and Owen, Hell Week is run by the captains, correct? So this is your Hell Week that you're putting together for all the players?
Yes, with the help of coach and the program, we get a lot of guys to come out, and we all just work hard and push ourselves mentally and physically to get ready for tryouts in the season.
Absolutely. So any good stories coming out of Hell Week? Were any of the players that participated not quite ready, and it took a physical toll?
Some kids puked, but
yeah.
They move on.
Yeah.
It happens every year. So
Yeah.
There you go. Any of the 3 of you, or were you guys all ready?
We're all safe.
That's pretty good.
There you go. That sounds good. So again, this is being filmed just before Thanksgiving. You know, the week after Thanksgiving is the tryouts. What have you guys done other than Hell Week, both to individually prepare and then get the get all the boys coming out to be as ready as they could be?
We've been running a fall league down at Mplex with we've actually have 2 teams in the league, and we're playing teams like Bridgewater Raynham, Oliver Ames, a bunch of good other programs from like around the area, and really just getting like our game right, trying to get as many guys there as possible, and really expose like some of the kids who haven't like been at the varsity level for too long to like really seeing like the level of competition that they'll be up against.
Yeah.
Yeah, at like the games at Mplex, like that's like really good for players like who are like new kind of to like the varsity level, and also like we have open gyms at the high school and Thurston, which helps a lot because like anyone can show up, and like it's like 3-on-3s or 5-on-5s, and like helps get like in the basketball like mode again.
So the 2 of you are obviously senior captains. Reed Wilson, another one of the captain who's finishing out the football season, and he'll be joining the club. Owen, you're the only junior captain on the team. Having gone through this with some of the older captains kind of helping you through that process, what do you bring as a junior, an underclassman captain, and potentially, again, pulling in some of these players that are not as used to the varsity experience?
Well, I'm younger, obviously, than these 2 up here. So, like, I can talk to guys, like, in my grade and, like, the lower grades, and, like, I get, like, more, like, connected with them, and I can, like, talk to them about, like, more stuff because, like, I'm in classes with them, and I'm, like, seeing them more in school than these guys are.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, relating to all the players and getting them excited about the upcoming season. So going into, again, the tryouts next week, what do you do again as a captain? You're all, again, you're captains. There's a good chance you're going to make the team, but if you show up and lay a big egg, then that could be an interesting conversation with coach. What do you do to make sure that you're giving your all, but then again setting the tone for what these players should be giving in a tryout?
It really starts with just paying attention to like every detail and really giving it your all, even like even though you're a captain, you've been through it before, you still have to like attack everything you do and really push yourself. And then once like the underclassmen see it, other guys see it, then they'll start pushing themselves. It's really just setting that example.
Yeah.
Yeah, just paying attention and like being in shape. Really, like our team like goes around being like defense and like running up and down the court. So if you're not in shape, then like that's less minutes. That's like less time that you can like contribute to the team. So like being in shape is one thing that's like super important to our team.
So you mean if I got off the couch and started working out right now, do you think I'd be ready for tryouts? Probably not. Probably not. Yeah. So it's again, you've been working up towards this. A lot of the things you've been doing. Anything to add, or is?
Just the mentality. Like as captains, like we have to set the mental state for everyone else, and it gives them something to like look at and be like, I have to be on that level if I want to be able to play with these guys. So.
That's great. So again, tryouts next week. Then the start of a season. Any goal setting, things you guys talking amongst the 3 of you, and then once Reed finishes up his football commitment, you get together. Do you individually as captains, or I'm sorry, as a group as the captains, set goals for yourself, or do you work hand in hand with coach for more of a team-oriented goal from his level?
We do a little bit of both. Like definitely like on our plate this year is definitely like winning the TVL, making a deep run to the tournament this year. And just we always have like individual goals to like at the end of every season we talk about it with coach and meet with coach about like improving skills individually and that kind of stuff. So there's both team goals and individual goals.
Yeah, especially for like our team goals, like Westwood basketball's like never gone back-to-back TVL championships, so like that's our motivation for like the entire season because we want to be that team on like the Westwood basketball banner in the gym that has the 2017-2018 on it.
Back to back.
Yeah, and the state championships, the goal is every year, so I'm just pushing for that, and like all of our personal goals will come together and make our team goals more achievable if we're all working towards ours. So.
And do you as captains, and anybody can answer this, do you as captains hold every player accountable to the individual goals that they set, and then working to help them achieve them?
Yeah, it's definitely like we're always like checking in on guys, coaches, like after like the games and stuff. Coaches always checking with us to see how guys are improving, making progress, and like we have to be the ones who are like being really vocal with the other guys in the program to make sure they're on track for tryouts in the season.
Yeah. Final question: have you circled any games on the schedule? Are there any games that, you know what, they all matter and you play one game at a time, but boy, oh boy, we're going to bring it on this particular night? And it's okay if the answer is no.
Probably Medfield, because that's always a tough one.
There you go.
Especially at Medfield. That's always a game I'm always excited for, because the crowd just gets you like pumped up for the game. Like, it's always the most fun.
Yeah, it's a rivalry. It's been a fun rivalry over the years. Well, boys, you know, again, congrats on getting through Hell Week. You know, Thomas, I hope the shin comes around.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun covering the team for the last few years. Owen, I've coached you since 4th grade, so it's been actually no, you came in 5th or 7th. Oh, it wasn't 7th, was it?
Yeah.
I felt like I've known you all along, but anyway, I've been coaching you a long time, and the two of you as well. So good luck with Thanksgiving, getting through that. Good luck with the tryouts next week and in the upcoming season. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll be joined by Steve St. Martin, and he's going to talk about the Germany trip that Steve went along with Owen Gaffney. So Owen will join him as well as some other local players. So we'll be right back with Steve St. Martin and Owen Gaffney. Next, we're joined with Coach Steve St. Martin and Owen Gaffney. Again, welcome back, Owen. I felt like you've never left. Welcome, Steve.
Thanks, Mike.
Let's start off actually talking about a pretty amazing trip that you led this past summer.
Right.
Talk about the Greater Boston Allstars. It's a program that for the last couple of years, I believe,
Yep.
last few years maybe, that you've been running program trips.
Yeah, so a few years ago, one of my assistants, Coach Mike Norman, now he's the head coach at Lincoln Sudbury, I approached him with this idea. As a player in college, I went on a similar type of a trip with a bunch. We were called the New England All-Stars, and two college coaches ran it. It was a group of us from the area that played at New England schools, and we went over there my junior year, going into my senior year that summer. So I always thought about doing this, but not with college players, because I coach high school. So I asked Coach Norman if he'd be interested, knowing he's a history teacher and majored in history, and also basketball coach. Somebody I could trust, and I said, hey, what do you think about, we'd take a group of high school players from around the area, and he was all in. We decided to do it, and this last one was our 3rd one we just ran with Owen came this summer. So it's been a fantastic thing.
Yeah. So tell everybody the trip itinerary. Where did you go?
All right.
And then once you get through that, how do you pick the locations? How do you pick the
Right.
games? How do you set all that up?
So this time we flew in to Amsterdam. We were in Amsterdam. We actually had to stay over because of some issues with flights that took place. There was a lot of fog, and flights were directed to other airports, so we didn't have our connecting flight to our finishing destination, which was Dresden in Germany. So we stayed over there. We went into the city, and then we end up the next day going to Dresden. We stayed in Dresden. We went to Berlin. We went to Prague. We played in Berlin, and then we flew to Belgium, and we played in Belgium. So it was a pretty extensive trip. We've made relationships with folks now where it's easier to find games and sometimes host families. And I say easier, but it's not super easy. I mean, from doing the stuff that you've run in the past.
Yeah.
So in finding games, it's certain teams are on holidays at certain times, so it's challenging, and it's a ton of work.
Yeah.
We usually start the process early. For this summer, we haven't 100% committed yet that we're going to do it, but we've already started the process to do it. So we've reached out about a month ago. I've already, and Coach Norman's already reached out to various places to see where we can do it. And Germany's easy because I played there, so I have contacts there.
Mm-hmm.
And plus both of us speak the language for the most part. Coach Norman's better with the grammar, and I know the slang stuff, so
Yeah,
we fit in well, you know. But that's how it all runs.
No, that's great. So we've talked on previous shows about MIAA rules, about coaching your team, you know, not, you know, during the off season. One of the rules is that you cannot have more than 50% of the boys at your program, correct? So Owen was the only Westwood player to travel. How do you pick the roster?
Well, we open it up first to juniors who are going to be seniors. So you know, Thomas Herbert went last year as a sophomore, same position that Owen was in, and so he did it once and was kind of like, you know, I've done it because it's expensive. And then we asked a couple of guys that couldn't go, and I asked Owen if he would go, and he you know, he wanted in. So we follow the rules. First, that's why you have to take other players. But we're pretty specific on following the rules too. You can't even have, like, I couldn't have 3 Westwood kids and 2 other kids on the court at the same time coaching them. That's how specific.
Wow.
So Coach Norman and I are very careful of how we do this. We make sure that even in drills and everything, as we're practicing, we split it accordingly, because we don't want to be in a situation where, I mean, you know, somebody would say anything. We're trying to do the best we can with it, even though it's this type of experience. That's one of the parts of the frustrating part we've talked about in the past with the rule. It's like, I'm 3,000 miles away, and here is a great experience, but I'm still watching all these different things to make sure we follow the rule correctly, you know. But we select the students, the student athletes, based upon recommendations from coaches that we trust, people that we've known for some years, and with certain qualifications and what we're looking for, players that are not only top-notch basketball players, but also top-notch people, because you're going into someone else's house. And we always say, if you go in there and you act a fool and do something that you're not supposed to do, number one, I'm not waiting around for you. Your folks can come get you while we're going to the next place. And the other thing is, probably not going to be able to run the trip ever again, because who is going to want to host you? We've been very fortunate to have some excellent kids, and which is awesome, because at the end, the host families always say at the end that, you know, we'd love to do this again if you guys come back, or if we're able to do so. So it's been very positive, a very positive experience. And we see things too, like we go to Berlin, we play in Berlin, but we spend a day in there seeing all the sites and going to different places. So stuff that they've read in the history book they can actually experience. So it's been great.
No, so great segue, talking about the great experience and you know, the Polite boys that have represented the Greater Boston Allstars. Talk about your experience, Owen. So on a scale of 1 to awesome, we'll start there.
It was awesome. Yeah, like, it was a great trip, a great group of guys. Like, I came in like skeptical, like not knowing any of the other players, only like heard of them and stuff like that, and came back with a bunch of really good friends that like we'll stay in touch and talk to in the future. And the trip itself was a great time. I got to see a different type of basketball, like different than what we play, like a lot more ball movement and a lot more like passing and like more team oriented than like a single person playing. So
yeah. So talk about the cultural experience. You, for the most part, had host families, as well as a couple of was it all host families?
All host families.
All host families. No nights in a hotel.
The one time when we got stuck in Amsterdam.
Got it. So talk about the cultural experience of being in different homes.
It was a lot different than here. Obviously, like over there, the food's a lot different. Like the arrangements are much different, and it was hard getting used to it at first, but eventually I got used to it, and I had a very good time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you mentioned you made a bunch of friends with the players that traveled. Did you make any friends against the teams you played against, or some of the host families?
Yeah, I have a few good friends. Like I still like somewhat stay in touch. Like I have their numbers and stuff from the Dresden team that was like in the area at the time, and my host family. So
that's great. How about the basketball? So you mentioned that the basketball is a different style. When people watch the NBA, the San Antonio Spurs, the way they move the ball, play with a European kind of focus. How did the basketball translate, and how did you guys do?
We played very well. We won 7-1 the trip, And I think that the players that we played against weren't used to our type of basketball. And I think that worked to our advantage.
So for the viewers, what does our type of basketball mean?
Like more like single person, like beating people off the dribble and then like passing and making like moves into the inside and like outside threes and stuff like that.
Yeah. One of the things that we've seen in being involved in the European players that come over is the physicality of the brand of basketball that certainly Coach St. Martin has with the Westwood team, being intense on every play and just giving 100% of the time. So did you see that was a big advantage for the players that were over there?
Yeah, we as a team were a lot more dirty, I thought, and like we were like getting on the ground for balls and they were just kind of like letting them go.
And by dirty, we're not talking about elbows and
of course not.
No, dirty means like gritty and getting after it on every play. No, that's great. So you were a sophomore going into your junior year. Would you do it again?
Easily, yeah. 100%.
There you go. So see that? We're already
we got one.
You
can check one off the
check
box.
One off.
Yeah.
See, we're making momentum. But no, it's obviously a great experience. Tim Giovino, he actually traveled with the New England Colonials.
Right.
He didn't. I don't think he traveled with you.
No.
Because of soccer coming up.
One
of the years. But just a phenomenal experience. If anybody's watching this, to have that as a goal, to be able to get your game to a level where you can play on an international stage, I think is a great goal for any sport. But you're very fortunate to have Coach St. Martin running these types of programs. So any advice for the freshmen or 8th graders, 7th graders here in Westwood, Owen, on getting their game to a level where this might be a possibility?
Well, it all starts with the mentality, I think. And like if you work hard and you do all this stuff mentally, then like the physicality and like stuff like that will come to you. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Great. So now we're going to take a little bit of we're going to go away from the trip, the Europe trip. Coach, and again, we've mentioned on a couple of different segments that Thanksgiving is a couple days away,
right.
then the tryouts, and then it is go time,
right.
and you basically are in a blur until come to the end, whatever that is. Hopefully, it's deep into the playoffs, if not the state title, as Owen eloquently put it. So, going into tryouts, again, any things that you can kind of enlighten the public on that what you're looking for going into the tryouts?
Well, you're trying to find players that can contribute in a multitude of ways. It's like anything, the more you can do, the better it is. And the contributions don't always have to be like, a lot of players think I got to hit every single shot or something. It's how competitive you are, how you battle during different possessions, how quick you can pick certain things up. Like sometimes in tryouts we'll put in something to see like during the scrimmaging part. One side or one team will have to run something and see if you can execute that with minimal coaching, because it's the same thing if I call a timeout in the fourth quarter and draw a play up, are you able to execute that when you get on the floor? Things of that nature. There's a lot of running involved, sprint work, and the way we do our sprint work, there's some type of activity that's also involved with sprinting, so it could be jumping jacks into sprints and you don't really get a break between them. A lot of that's just to see physically and mentally if guys can push themselves through it. It's the same idea, fourth quarter, 2 minutes left, you're on the road, you're down by 4, and can you battle through these possessions, maintaining both your physical stature but also your mental stature as well. So we try to put those things as best as we can in the short amount of time we have. And then from there, select players that fit exactly the things we're looking for, and what numbers come together to do that. And I never have a set number. And I also don't have set people. It's the beauty of it. Every year there have been players that other people might have been like, wow, I can't believe that so-and-so made the team. And there's always a surprise every year. We've had it all the time, and as a coach, I just keep an open mind about it. I don't pick who's going to be on it first. I have no clue who's going to make it. It's a great experience as far as that. The tough part is cutting people. I mean, it's a necessary thing because there's only so many numbers you can keep. It's also mirrors life because you're not going to get everything, you know. But you have players that will come in for the tryouts or even do some preseason things, and some of them aren't going to make it. And you just appreciate the effort that they give. And I always tell them, your goal is to come out here so when you walk away, you know you don't have any regrets. How you prepare for that is every player is different. That's why we try to do as much as the stuff we do with the hell we can, the leagues we run, the open gyms, the lifting. Like, we open it up to everybody who is not playing a fall sport to get as much in as you can. Everything's voluntarily done. It's a trying experience, but and I always, you know, it's tough. I don't really sleep well Monday night and Tuesday night. You never really get a good night's sleep because, you know, you're potentially telling somebody that they're not good enough at this moment. But we always encourage players, underclassmen, especially if you know you don't make it this year, doesn't mean that you never can make it. And we always offer advice. We meet with them face to face. We tell them all the different things. We open up lines of communication throughout the season, the end of the season, the off season. I've had players who got cut who last year who wanted to do a lot of things in the off season to better prepare themselves, and we offer it to everybody.
Yeah, and I'll give 3 shout-outs of other options should you not make one of these teams. Number 1, you've had managers.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So people that you know give their all, and you know, again, they're not, the time isn't now, and they're still part of the team, and they've been, you know, great contributors to this, you know, the overall program.
Yep.
Number 2, Westwood Media Center. So you know, we're going to be covering you know, all of the games through you know, your team kind of filming both home and away games, but also doing commentary. So there's opportunity to get you know, get behind the camera and either film or do the commentary. And then third but not least, there's in-town basketball, the high school division. Obviously not open to players on any of the JV or varsity teams, but just an awesome experience for those who don't play at that next level. So, you know, again, we've seen Westwood basketball really explode from the youth levels all the way up to the high school programs, and it's been awesome to see. And you know, I know it's a hard week though, because you're, as Coach Clifford mentioned, it's bittersweet, right?
Sure is.
You get a roster, you can start building on it, but you know, you have some of those tough decisions that you have to make.
Correct, and there's guys that came in and worked extremely hard, and it's that those things are difficult. It's just the turnaround of the season is so fast. I mean, our first scrimmage is that Friday. Yeah. We go Friday, Sunday, Tuesday, and our first game is the following Friday. So you don't really have a preseason to, you know, do the things you need to do and get working, and so unfortunately it's a quick turnaround.
Have any named captains ever been cut?
Named captain's been cut. No.
Okay, so don't be the first, Owen.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of pressure. This hasn't happened before, so.
Well, the thing is, you know, there's nobody's written in stone, as everybody knows that. Nothing is, and it's usually though the advantage that players that did make it or captains is that they know exactly what the expectations are, so they prepare themselves accordingly. You know, but you know, like I said, no one's guaranteed anything.
There you go. Well, if even that being the case, my money's certainly on Mr. Gaffney and the other captains. So. Yeah. Quick shout out to Daniel Cassavant.
Yeah.
Unfortunate injury in one of the fall league games.
Right.
So I know he'll be there in spirit with the team, but
he also, he decided to be one of the managers.
That's awesome.
We wanted to keep him involved. I asked him. I said, you know, I waited obviously, and we just checked to make sure everything was good with him and kept lines of communication open. And I asked him. Last couple of days, I said, hey, how you feeling? And he said, you know, things are better. I have a long way to go. And we always tell him, like, you know, you're not in this by yourself. We help everybody as much as we can. But then I asked him if he would want to stay involved, and he said, absolutely. So, unfortunately, in the last couple of years, we've had guys get hurt that have decided to, you know, stay involved with it. You know, so he was working extremely hard this whole off season to really prepare himself. So it's an unfortunate thing, but. I think that he's going to be one of those players that can bounce back from it and even be better than he was before. And sometimes injuries can do that for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Phenomenal kid, as many of the boys are. And Owen, I will get his straight. I coached him when he was in 2nd grade, so all the way from 2nd grade up. So yeah, we'll look forward to seeing him on the end of the bench, and then hopefully moving his way up next season.
Yeah.
So going into post tryout, you get the tryouts. You have a team. Again, we talked about in the last episode some of the goals that you'll set as a group.
Mm-hmm.
Again, what do you high level? What are you looking to achieve early in the season? What are you trying to get better at, and then ultimately peak for the end?
I mean, the seniors and captains will set different team goals that they're looking for, and they primarily revolve around winning certain things and getting to the tournament and all that. Which is fine, but to me, the most important thing we talk about over and over again is getting better every day. Like, can we make improvements every day? Are we a better free throw shooting team? Are we better teammates? Do we communicate better on screens? Because you can't accomplish those other big things if you don't take care of the little things every single day. And a quote we talk about and mention all the time is, little things make big things happen. You just don't wake up and win something. You have to put in the work and to do so. So we try to take the focus away from winning and concentrate on improving. And if those things happen, you end up in a situation where now you look back and you've accomplished a lot of things in that win column. Everybody wants to win. We're not doing it to not win. But the point is how to win. And that's the execution, the effort, and that consistency day in and day out between practices and games. Free throws, running sprints, passing, it doesn't change because it's a Monday practice or a Friday game, against Norton. It doesn't change. We have to do it the same way every time to get better. The tough part in the beginning of the season is you're growing and developing, try to figure out, what you have, what you don't have. Hopefully people are staying healthy, and then you're trying to improve upon those things as you're going forward. So that's the challenge, and we do individual goals too. They'll have individual goals for themselves of things that they want to accomplish this year, and they're responsible for each other's. And then we'll always have check-ins throughout the year, depending upon those goals. And at the end of the year, we look back and say, okay, did you as an individual reach them? And if you're underclassmen, we reset them for the following season, like, okay, what's the next phase for yourself? So it's constantly moving forward, and it's very difficult because it takes an extraordinary amount of effort, but also concentration. So it's the mental and physical part, combining the two to get where you want to get out of it.
Well, it all finishes up Hell Week, I believe. I thought it was over, but one more day of Hell Week, and then Thanksgiving. And then onto the tryouts, and then the season beyond. I know you'll have the boys prepared, as you have every season here at Westwood. I know Owen will be one of those leading the charge. So again, congrats on getting up to this point, and
Thank you.
Great luck over the next couple of weeks, and then onto the season. So we'll be seeing you again here. We will have the Player of the Week. So Owen, I do expect to see you back
Wow.
in here.
Pressure.
Yes, you will. You are expected to lead this team, and do some great things. So again, congrats, guys, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
So we'll wrap up with a couple of shout outs. Matt Gillis, the athletic director for Westwood High School, has done a phenomenal job with the basketball programs, but also all of the sports. Again, thank you, Matt. You're welcome anytime in one of these chairs to come in and talk about the other programs. The unified basketball team in Westwood, we're going to try to have them at one of the next segments. Absolutely phenomenal addition to the Westwood basketball program. It's been an awesome experience, so look forward to that in the next episode. And then finally, the question that I'm sure everyone at home is asking, oh my God, what is that mustache? So the mustache, this is Movember. I'm raising money for prostate cancer awareness. My grandfather, in the later years of his life, he battled prostate cancer, absolutely devastating disease, and it was part of the things that led to his unfortunate death. So if you want to contribute, you can go to my Facebook page, and for the next couple of weeks you can give money to raise awareness for prostate cancer. We're also looking for a sponsor for around the hoop, and then also the Player of the Week. So if you have a local business and you're interested, please reach out to Westwood Media Center or myself, and we'd love to have you. Again, the next episode we will have the coaches back, Coach Steve St. Martin and Catherine Clifford. We'll probably talk about the tryouts. We'll give you an update of the rosters. We'll be able to go over some of the surprises that both Catherine Clifford and Steve St. Martin mentioned. Surprises as in, you know, the number of players on a team, or, you know, some things that they saw that they weren't expecting. So that should be great. We're going to try to do these shows on a weekly basis, although this is not my full-time job. So we may miss one here or there, but we'll try to make sure that you're staying in tune. And again, if you want to get involved with Westwood Media Center, please come down to 15 Purwell Street. This is the best kept secret in Westwood. They're doing phenomenal things on the town programming side as well as the community programming. So just a phenomenal crew here, and they'd love to get some new faces involved. So for the many coaches and players that joined us today, and then for Westwood Media Center, thank you very much for joining us. I'm Michael Gay, and we'll see you next time.